Okay, this is the next sequence on putting up our wall logs. I'm using a modified V notch. The reason I call it modified is because it follows the contour of the log below. Some people call this chinkless construction. I suppose you could call it that too. But you can see the V notch goes the entire length of the log. And I'll show you why I call it chinkless construction in a moment. What we've done is notch down our log just like we notched the other logs over the half log. See, I've got them notched down there, or marked, rolled up and ready to notch. So I'm going to take it down to that first. Then we go ahead and scribe the log full length. I'll show you how to do that to attain a nice tight fit. Let's go down and roll it down. This is the first time I've ever done this. I usually just saw a flat between the logs so that they fit down tight to each other. Follow the path of least resistance between the two logs, and I get a nice full flat fit all the way down. But this seemed like a nice way to do it, so I decided to do it. And you'll see I can make mistakes too, but it came out real well. Let's go take a look at it. Okay, you can see the log is bowed, and the V-notch follows the bow. Let's kick it over and see how it fits. It took me approximately hour and a half to do this because it's the first time I ever done it, so I had to be sure that I made the mistakes so that I didn't pass the mistakes on to you. With a little more time you'll probably get a better fitting, but you'll see how tight it is here. First, of course, is line the log up over the log underneath. And you can see that I did get my V-notch out a little bit there. And step off to one side, see it's over down there. Go to this side and see it's over here. Okay, now this notch here, I didn't get all that well. It's got some gaps in it. Got a little mortar in with that or chink it in. Although to some people that would be a fine notch. Okay, this is why I call it chinkless. The log V's down over the log underneath and makes a nice tight fit all the way down. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? The form fits down over about an inch overlap in the top of that. Actually, it's at 3 or 4 inch there. But you can see, and I never did anything special here, really. I followed my scribe line with my chainsaw. And I had to cut off one side more than the other a little bit in order to get the log to center over the one underneath. But let's look inside. Looks pretty good. Let's go inside. And there's the inside. This notch down here is a little bit sloppy, but half of that notch you won't see once you get your cabin up. But you can see how nice form fit it makes right along there, and that notch over there is pretty good. It's about a 1/4 inch gap around there on the notch. But you can see it fits down over real well. By the time we preserve that with woodlite, ball one, where we had that real unusual growth here, well, when you're doing a notch like this and going over oddball angles like this, don't even think about it. Just go ahead and do it. Just take your scribe, set it to the smallest dimension. I checked inside, it's about 1/2 inch more gap in there than there is out here. Go ahead and set to the smallest dimension, holding your scribe just like we had told you in other sequences. And just pay a little more attention. Pay a little more attention when you come across. Keep it plumb this way. And this center point here, in between the about half distance, and just follow across slowly, just going up across the log. Just go a little slower, pay attention to where your point's going, how you're angled, and right on up across. Just make sure that this bottom point is following this log here okay, and staying right on it. It's going to make an oddball line there. Go ahead and get it in. Like I said, don't have to be perfect. We'll be coming back and cutting this out a little bit more, because with our new V-notch we're going to be wanting to clean up a little better. We're going to be wanting to take another cut coming down further in here again when we come down for our V-notch. And go to the other side, do the same thing. When you're coming from this way on a log like this, you're going to be coming out away from the log a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. So you'll be coming out in and out like this too. But that's about it. Just grab it like that, do the same to the other side, and that's all there is to it. Unusual notch. Here, this log swells out here, so you can't keep your scribe parallel to the log this way. You're going to have to come out from the side a little bit. Just use a little more caution, a little more. See, I'm going to be out at the angle out the side here because I got to keep away from following that. I don't want to be following. See, I'll be clear out here, an inch away down here if I was to be against the log here. So I'm going to come away sideways a little bit. Come away sideways so that my point is in here. And after this back point here raises above this swell butt here, then I'll bring it back in line. But that's about as close as you can get for now. And like I say, we'll be trimming them in again, so this is the way we'll go about it for now. You just got to make little concessions like that here and there, and you can straighten them out. See, this butt's in the way up here too, so I can't hold it level this way either. So see those levels in on the special scribes they sell you and everything aren't going to help you in a situation like this. And if you want to do something unusual like this, you're going to be saying, well, gee, I can't do it now. I'm going to have a perfect log. Well, perfect log cabins look fine, but I like unusual stuff like this. And so, with just a little patience, you can get it. And look at that. Get an unusual pattern we'll have there. And that's it on them. They're sitting reasonably snug to the lower log once you got it notched down that notch you want. She's pretty pretty close, just about right all the way down. Then all I do is set my scribe. Since I'm not going to block this one up an inch because it's not touching, but a little teeny bit right in there. So what I'll do is just set my scribe at 2 inches and scribe it on down. But that's how that unusual notch came out. See, it didn't come out bad. And of course I'll be rescribing it again when I go with a 2-inch scribe I'll be scribing right along, and then I'll follow that same contour, and that'll leave me an outline to saw to. I'll carve the notches down and fit her down. The back log, the bottom was bowed up so much that I had to block that log up. I blocked it up about 1 inch and then set my scribe at 2 inches, and it still got me a nice, let's take a look at it. Marks all the way down there, the pencil marks. There's going to be a nice wide V there, but I had to do it because this lower log humped up. If it looks oddball to you, hey, just go with what it says, what your scribe says. Go with that, and it'll fit down. It'll fit down right on there, just like we said. You'll see that in a bit. Don't worry about it too much. Just follow what your scribe says. Hard to do, I know, but that's what you do. Or else use straighter logs. And I use the larger logs like this. They're towards the butt of the tree usually, and they're a little crooked, so you can make them work. Okay, there's a good fit down there. We're sitting down pretty tight. We're V-notched over, and there's one problem. Okay, look at all four corners of this same log, and that in there, you'll notice has a big gap up there. Okay, I checked the other 3 corners, no interference. So there's something on this side holding that up. So it's just a matter of deduction. Looks like a good detective there. Take a knife and run it underneath there, and find out where that interference is in the V-notch. The V-notch is what's holding it up. I looked through there and didn't see any interference in there, so there's no reason it shouldn't drop except if the V-notch is touching down. So just check all different places along and see where the heck it's at. That come out real nice sitting over the top of it. This is a beautiful way to do logs. And let's see, just take a look underneath. Done. And take a knife, stick it up in there. See, there's no interference there. And I get into here, and there's a big bunch of interference there. I can feel it, see? And that's where a big bump is in the log. Not that one there, but the one on the other side. There's a big bump on there. And I probably didn't follow the line very good there. So what I gotta do is roll the log up and take the chainsaw and dust off in here so this does drop down. We will see the line there. I didn't follow the line real good right there. For the most part, this line works good, but some places you miss. So just go ahead, roll the log up, take it out. You know, a person should use it, buy it, and use it as you do a tool, just like a PV, snatch block rigging. Everybody says it costs too much or whatever. If they say that, you know, well, hey, it costs you $20 for a good log home book. This way you're actually seeing how it's done. There's not any doubts left in your mind whether you can do it or want to do it. Just to know these different things, you should know them if you're going to have somebody else build you one. So think of that. Don't be too reluctant to be buying things to make you knowledgeable. Save you a lot of money and a lot of years of mortgage payments. Do this, go to the other end. Go to the other end, do the same thing. This is just a rough notch. You can make this in kind of fast because you're going to have to recut it again after we get down to the V-notch. So go ahead, make the notch down. Go to the other end, do the other same thing, and we'll be ready to set her down. Take a look at it then. The amount of time you saw me doing that notch there, I just got done with the other one, did the same thing. Just real quickly, it didn't take very long, just as long as you saw me take me to do that in there, I did the other one on the other end, and look what we got for a fit. Pretty darn good. If you're in a hurry to build a log home, that is probably good enough for you. Just take the chainsaw, run through there, get them bumps a little bit, spike her down. That would probably be plenty good. Just put some insulation in between and chink over the top of it. But if we want a tighter fitting cabin, log home or whatever, Then we're going to show you how to do the V-notch to make a nice melded look. What we do have is a little bit of interference here and there. Okay? We'll show you how to make that log, upper log, fit down over the lower log. You can see there the notch is looking pretty good. Conforms. That's just the simple rules that I showed you and told you to do. See, you take that smallest distance, see? You take that smallest distance. What it does is leaves you up off the lower one a little bit, but still close enough that you can see any interferences. If you took the biggest gap between them and marked it, then what you'd have is a whole lot of bumping down here. You'd never be able to get a chainsaw through there to fit it down if you wanted to just slice between the logs or whatever. So these little rules, these little things that I'm teaching you, those are the easy ways I learned over the years that were easy to do. So it'd be very easy. You just go ahead and put that down the rest of the way. Okay. Next I'll show you what I'm going to do to make the V-notch. Just block the log up approximately 1 inch at all corners, both sides of the notch, so it's 1 inch up off at the notch. Just use any blocks, anything like that. On the other side. And what we have is a little bit more than the 1 inch down here, in some spots less than others. But the void of the V-notch will make the difference. Okay, what you do now is we'll be setting our scribe at 2 inches. The 2 inches is so that we'll have approximately 1 inch gap here. But we know that varies because of the bumps and whirls in the log below, and approximately 1 inch gap in here. So what you're going to have is a V-notch coming down like this. So if we drop it to 1 inch that we've locked up in the notch, that'll bring it down on top of this. Another inch will take it to the depth of the V. As we've seen by putting the flat on the half log the other day, that when we take out just 1 inch at a 45, which would be a total of 90 degrees, that we're opening up an area of about 3 inches. So that's what's going to happen. We are going to have to retrim down our notches a little bit with this new method that I'm trying, or using here. Well, I guess I am trying it. But it's working out real well. We'll see. I'll go ahead and show you how to scribe it next. Okay, set the scribe at 2 inches, just like that. So your scribe is set at 2 inches. Then take your scribe, holding it where this point is, right in the middle of this gap approximately. Level actually is what it would be. Let the scribe sit down on this half log and half up here on this log here. You see that I'm not trying to follow from the center there, from the center of this half log. I'm trying to just follow the center from out here. And what you'll do is move your scribe straight along, following all the way down. Keep it up and down properly. And keep following it as you go in and out the log. You'll go in and out a lot because of the curves. Just keep following it with the scribe. You want the pencil marking the upper log because you're trying to follow the contour of the lower log. So you take your scribe and just travel all the way down the log. It doesn't matter a heck of a lot if you're down like this, because you notice it's not going to make hardly any difference at all in here in the height here. But if you need to make your mark a little heavier, just go ahead and tilt it down. At least you're still getting your 2 inches. See, it'll only make a little bit of difference. See, it hardly makes any difference at all there. Sometimes in order to get the pencil to mark up there, I have to come down a bit and mark it. But you'll see we're going to be hitting right here. right here. I don't know if you can see that. And 2 inches over here would be right here. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, right there. I gotta start paying attention here, there, and there. It still isn't gonna make that much difference. See, it comes off a little bit, not a lot. And this way doesn't make a heck of a lot either. Hold it reasonably level and move all the way down. We can make up for it inside. I'll show you. It's just like I did on the other one now. Okay, if this is the mark here, this is the mark here, and we saw in, we'll be coming just like that and making a V there. So we'll go ahead and mark it all the way down. Let me get you in a better position to see that a little better. There's your V-notch here, and there's a scribe line going along underneath. We'll show you all the way down here. Go ahead and if you're tilting, go ahead and tilt to get your mark. It's going to be kind of difficult with your pencil. They have special made scribes for that. At the point that you come to the notch, though, you want to have your scribe properly up and down and sideways, or plumb rather, and then just come right up. And you see it's coming right out of the old notch, right up across. And that's how much you're going to have to come out with your new notch. And you do the same thing the other side. Go ahead and scribe the full length of the log, just as I showed you, getting that mark on there. We'll have to do a little fine tuning after we get into it here. But that's basically what's going to happen. And once you roll this up, you'll fill in these marks. I'll show them to you after we got them down there. It's too hard to follow underneath the log. As we get higher on the wall, I'll do this again for you. Along real quickly. And you can see the pencil line. It's faded out here and there, but it'll follow the contour of the log generally. And what we'll do is turn the log over and get that in, mark it in full. Attention. Go ahead and mark in your pencil lines all the way down. You can see I got them pretty well now. They see they're going to go in and out, so follow them. Pay attention. Follow them marks. So you can see them clear down there. Follow them marks. They're taking the contour of the log below, even the little bumps. Pay particular attention to, because they describe a bigger bump in the log below. Just like there's a couple knots there, see? Okay. And what do we see up here? We see where it's going around them knots, out around them. So what it's going to do is follow the curves and bends of the log below. And if you look down it, and then look down your log, you'll basically see pretty much the same thing. See how the check marks in the bark log go? Okay, basically that's exactly what this is following, those check marks, kind of. Not because I had my scribe stuck in one of them, it was because of the curve of the log, bumps and whirls and turns. So do this also, put a little V notch there at 90 degrees, which would be 45 each direction from center, and we'll saw down into that. Turn it to a position which is easy for you to saw. I always draw that V in all 4, 5, 6 places inside the notch out here. That way it gives me a guideline to follow, just a general idea. You don't need to be perfect, but go ahead and put a V there. It kind of gives you something to follow and get used to your chainsaw at that angle so that you can continue all the way down. And with that, we'll go ahead and watch me saw this. Log to the position where it's most comfortable for you to stand with the chainsaw and run it down. It's getting ready to thunderstorm here, so we'll try to get on this air before it washes me out. Dress out this notch just like when we cut the flat on the half log on the bottom and we had to dress it out. We're going to do the same thing with the notch now. Just kind of eat down in there further until we come out to the line. And you just keep going all the way down. You can see it goes real fast and easy. Let's try to get a shot all the way down before it rains. What I do is I figure out what depth my blade's at here. See, if the top of my bar, is right here at this, and I know I'm at the proper depth here, then I can always guess pretty much where I'm at all the way down. See, it pretty well follows it at the same depth. So you just keep going all the way down. I lead with the back of the chain back here. I lead the mark. I lead the mark by about a foot. And just keep following down. You're in control, but it works pretty good. I'm at the depth, making sure I'm at the depth I need so that when I come to it'll pop right out. Works amazingly well. And then we just roll the log back the other direction, and I'll come along here and go that way. That's all there is to it. Block your log, make sure it stays in position. If you don't feel safe with it, put some more blocking under the other end. And I'll just slice down this way. But I'll come from the other end this way. That's all there is to it. The half chunk fits and follows one down below. You can see it's going to do everything you want it to do. I made a few little mistakes there. Went and screwed it up a little bit, but let's lay her down and see what she looks like. Lots of mulch for the garden, eh? Whoever's got one of them. I don't. How many other things do this year? Okay, let's take a look. Remember, we have to do the notches yet. You could almost say we're right back where we started, with the exception that once we fit them notches down, that will come down and lap right over the top of the log below. That 1 inch or a little bit better on the notch, that'll lap down over. The distance you're gonna fill up to is you're gonna bring this down about 1 inch out here to where it's setting down on the log out there. That'll give us a nice tight fit inside and outside. You'll see that. Now there's nothing wrong with the V-notch. I just haven't fit down the saddle there so that the log settles down on. So what I'm going to have to do is trim out in here yet more and take a look at the end of it here. There's about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch there, probably 1/2 inch there that we have to take out of the notch in order to bring this down. We aren't going to fool around here anymore, but we are going to bring the notch down that much more in order for it to sit down tight. Let's look at the other end. Looking underneath, and you can see I'm way down below looking up. You can see that we're clear all the way down. And that's approximately a 1/2 inch we're talking about. That's the way it is all the way down. So that's what we need to do, take that notch down more. Because see, that's the only part that's interfering, see? It starts hitting right there. So let's go to the other end, like I said. What I'm going to do is take a pencil and show that this guy has some more out of there, put a little arrow there. But see, this isn't the real problem here yet. This isn't really touched down and hitting yet. It's the other side. The notch, the V-notch, like I said, isn't touching anywhere down here. So I'll show you what is holding this up. This notch over here. Now, we can't see that 1/2 inch gap we was talking about, but it's there underneath. So we can see that that gap is all clear all underneath. There's only one thing holding it up, and that's right there. So I have to take out this wall. I have to take this and curve, put a mark right there and cut that out right along under there. And that will allow this end to drop that 1/2 inch. See, over here it's not touching. Even if it dropped this 1/2 inch here, this would still just barely be touching down here. So this side here is what's holding us up. See, we gotta take that. See, it's pinching between this outer log, and that outer log over there. See, it's pinched between there and right here. That's why it can't drop down. So we get the gnar out of there, plus take off on the other end. And she should fit down nice and tight then. Let's do it and see what happens. Okay, I knew I needed about a 1/2 inch out right here. So I know that I can't take a full 1/2 inch out here, because that would leave me a big 1/2 inch gap down here, because this is vertical here and it hardly takes anything at all out here. What you need to do is take it out up here. So make a rough 1/2 inch mark, just what you guess your gap is down here. Go ahead, and what you do is follow the contour of this line here. You follow the contour of that, but taper it on down. See, you're generally still following the contour of this log, but you have to remember that this log is changing diameters, changing the convex as it comes up. And then we'll drop off this side the same way, drop it down. 1/2 inch is what we want up here at the top, because we got to have a total of 1/2 inch down here, and we just taper it in here because it gets less and less as you get down here to the side. So just go ahead and ferret it in. Do the same thing over here to this side. This side's pretty much the same. And at the far end, all we want to do is mark out that one pinch spot. Now I noticed it is pinching. It is pinching on the other side, directly opposite of where that pinch is down at the far end. So what we want to do is take out a little bit there too, so it doesn't pinch between that log, that outer log, and this outer log. Remember, it was pinching on the other end. Well, it's pinching on the opposite side down here, so that means that that's where it's pinching at. So, mark it, roll it up, saw it, fix your mistake, or my mistake, and ferret in a little bit, set her down again, and you got it. Generally done the right thing. See, this log has a long, slow top coming to the top here, and then it sharply drops off over here. Well, that's what I did with my ferret end mark. When I ferret in, I just come slowly up, got wider over here, and followed the crown over. Okay, I'll go ahead and saw them out. See, right here's my little arrow here. It shows that this is a pinched area. So I'm going to take that and scoop it back in a bit too. I'm cupping down in here. I'm cupping down in. That makes it easier to come out here and just barely touch this. Now I can be steady out here because I'm not fighting all this meat in here. So I scoop out all the meat back here, and then I'll have to just take out a little bit out here. Something to remember. Along with many other things. And basically, there it is, nice and tight on this side. tight across the notch, and tight all the way down. Nice tight fit. Nice and overlap. Now that end there, we have a little gap that we're going to have to notch down. Use a knife, take out that little lip and take it down. And I'll show you that this one isn't perfect yet either. And I'll show you what we're going to do about that. We're touched down on both sides, left and right. Okay, let's go over here, walk around to the notch, and we'll notice that the notch has a lot of gap on this side of the log. So, right underneath, if we look in there closely, we'll see that this V-notch is hitting the lower log right in there. All we have to do is take and dress up this side of that flat of the V-notch right there. And a little bit right in here by this knot. As we get right down in here, about 3 feet down, then we'll notice there's a gap opening up. So we know that the interference is right here. So we'll just take this first little bit of edging here. We'll turn it up, take the chainsaw, run along there. Seems like a lot of work, but she's coming out pretty darn good. And it used to be just as much trouble with flats, I think. And there, all this notch needs is to be cleaned up a little bit. But she looks pretty good. Just fine tune it a little, and you'll have her. That's about all there is to it. Looking real good. Yeah, get in and out of the rain. But at this point, well, you see, you can become a perfectionist real easy. The guy just keeps fooling, a little more, and then pretty soon you got it perfect. You have to decide when you want to stop. How perfect do you want to get? How much time you want to take? Depends on how quick you want to get into your home. So you can be a perfectionist too. Just take your time, do all these little things. I'll get this one a little closer myself, but that's pretty much basically all you got to do right there. And there's some gray clouds. I'm lucky they hasn't rained. A note. This is the finished product. As far as I'm going, not going any further. It isn't very tight out there, but inside she's tight all the way down. And now it's just tight, except for right down below there, a little bit there. But that's a darn good tight fit, nice looking. Sloppiness on the notch right there. And I could clean out the channel inside. The channel is what's holding it up. It's not the notch itself. Look at that tight fit. See, we're down low enough now. You can see where she's fitting up tight. She follows the contour of the log below. Does real well. Anyway, it looks pretty good. Enough for today. What you want to see here, that void there will be filled with, you can use that foam insulation that you spray in, you can use styrofoam, you can use regular fiberglass, that's what I'm going to put in there, is fiberglass insulation, or whatever. It'll fill that in. I'll stuff it full so it has nice compact fill. There won't be any void there. You could put sawdust, moss, just about anything you want in there to fill it in to keep any small breezes that come through out. And I don't think you have any problems with bugs. If you would life it, put preservative on it. Okay, at this point, this you keep right on up, which we did with these two logs here, following our basic rules of small over big, big over small. Go ahead with your outside logs. Do what we did with this log 40 more times or so, and you'll be ready to put the roof on. And that's really all there is to it. Putting the roof on isn't all that hard either. I don't even think I'll have to rebar these much. These are short walls. Might rebar around the doors and windows, but I don't think I'll have to. This V-notch holds, it looks like it's going to hold everything pretty well. The only thing I might have to do is around the windows and doors, leave extra gap for insulation and for settling, because with this type of notch, it isn't like my flat notch when I had a nice flat edge across that bottom there. Instead, I had a nice flat, log to flat, so there wasn't much settling. In this type of notch here, it looks like there'll probably be some settling, at least down on the notches a bit, maybe some down below. So you might have to slot the door and window frames. But do that 40 more times and you'll be up there ready to put your roof on. That's it. Thank you. Preserve it. So let's preservative on. All the breaks in your logs that you make here and there, put preservative on. And after that, insulate it. And go ahead and insulate it. Put insulation in. This here will fill up that gap real nice. I'll come right on up over this log here. Give it a little insulation here so no log wind goes across in there. Then just flip the log over on it, and it'll fall right down over it. Cover it right in there. Just a little bit showing in the center. And then you spike her down. It's pretty well centers itself, so you don't have to worry about that. See, it's pretty well centered by itself right there. And you just take spike, it'll penetrate about 3 inches into that and down there. Spike her right on in. There. You can go anywhere. You can spike it in the center too if you want. That's it. Same thing at the other end. And raise your next 2 logs up. Insulation showing. A little bit. Not bad though, not bad. And same here, same thing. You knock the spikes in, it brings the logs down a little tighter. Real good looking fit. Do that with all of them, we'll have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Pretty log walls to look at all the rest of your life. Okay. Like I did, most of the weight's on that up there on the cable. Put it in there, drop the other end, and you can roll it on up wherever you want. Wait. Okay. All you do now is disconnect it. Then as you roll the log in, the big end's down here, and the big end rolls faster than the small end. So what we're going to do is just bring the back end over here a little bit. And get the PV and roll it. And it'll come around there and get on there. We're going to take this one up to the front. It's the largest log, and the highest dimension from the log below to the one above is 5 inches. So the bigger log's going to go to the front, the smaller log will go on the back here. This is a little hard way of doing it. But got most of my rigging set up in the other cabin. And this is the big end down here. And it's got to go at that end because that's where the small end of the lower log is. Now I'm going to just keep weaseling along like this and it'll work out. A little more foreplanning, you don't have to do this. Okay, we almost got the weight center here pretty quick, so it won't be too much longer. Oh, I think I'll rig up something a little better by the time we get up higher. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to keep this log rolling. See? What's happening? The far end there, I'm just going to keep rolling around, and I'll keep moving this end, and I'll use the taper of the log to be carrying me and get me on that far end. So just follow me on that. You'll see what I'm doing here. Okay, now we'll show you how to get that up down there. Sometimes you can fiddle around like that, a little bit here, a little bit there. It'll get it there. I'll have to figure out something a little better by the time I get up higher though. Of course, once I'm higher on the wall, the weight of the log will stay inside the cabin instead of dropping back out like it's been doing. Once the primary weight's inside the cabin, then it'll stay there. Okay, this big end of this one has to go down at that end on this back side. See how easy it is to control a log now? You got it balanced on the wall. Of course, you don't want to be doing that when you get up higher. And you start rolling it down. There, real easy to do. Easy for me to say, huh? Okay, I need a little more down at that end there. So I just roll it around until you get the big end will roll faster than the small end. And as you experiment with them, you'll see what's happening. Go ahead and do a little bit of that until you see where it's going to end up at. Big log home over there, I won't be able to do this. I'll be doing it with the rigging. Of course, I've got a lot better setup there. And I roughly set it where I want it. Get it up there where it's halfway, the gap is halfway proper. Then move it back and forth till it's over the one below, and then take a look at it again. Be sure that's where you want it. Line them up just like we did before. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. What we've done is roll the log. So we had the pretty cat's eye out towards the front here. The door will be over here, and the window will be up over the top of that cat's eye. But anyway, you check like we did before. Check, make sure we got an even tapered gap underneath all the way down the log till we get to this end. So there's not any crooks and whirls, and most of them go to the inside and outside. Log below, go to the other end, do the same thing. Step over, look inside, outside, see if you got the same amount of log underneath when you're looking straight on. And it's lined up. We got a crook down there, but that's okay. We know where we want that inside to outside, just like we got it. Back of the log wall. Make sure you got a tapered gap. And it's got a little bit of drop in the center there, not much, but actually it's a hump in the lower log. But our new V-notch will take care of that. Same thing, get up, look at the ends and look down the length. Over the one underneath, okay, this log bows to the inside a little bit, so I kind of compensate, take half inside and half outside, a little bit of each, and that's where I want it. And we'll just block it there, and then go ahead and scribe and continue on just like we did before. That's about all there is to it. Okay, on this V-notch here, what I'm finding out is if you don't go at a 45 in here, drop down in real steep and get a good 45 in here, in this direction, what you'll do is hang up right in about this far in. And it won't quite, it won't fit down like you want down the notches. So always, so what I've been doing is cutting in real deep in the 45. I'll show you on the other log over here. Because I keep having to come back and clean up along in here to make the notches drop down. So to save that time and trouble, just go ahead and cut this V real deep, 45. I didn't want to do it because I thought it'd be more work, but as it's turning out, it's being more work just redoing the whole V rather than just cutting it deep at the beginning. This is where the scribe lines ran out, and of course it's because of short log down here. But anyway, you can see when I started going back to a real deep V. There. That stops from any humps in this lower log from hitting in different spots up inside from this scribe line, further down in here. And so what I've done, the roll logger where I can just point my chainsaw straight down into the groove and saw down, and then roll the log over in this direction about 2/3 of a turn, and then saw down the other direction. It don't take that long to do that. It's working out pretty good. You know, that back log over there, I just did a real good deep V notch on it. This was my first cut down, notches and V. And see, I just have very little notching to do and cleaning up to do to get that to settle down there. See, that's notches up a little bit, a little gap there. Now this front log here, it fit well on this end, but I've been fooling around, cleaning up the V-notch, trying to get that down there, and I still haven't got it. See, there's still a little gap there. So go ahead and make that V real deep. Still a pretty good tight fit. And I could have probably spiked it down, forced it down, but I don't like to do that. I'll go ahead and trim them in, trim the notches in, clean up that V a little bit over there, and that one will be ready to sock down with spikes. Put insulation under it, wood life it. But nobody said it was going to be easy. It's easier than the way other people do it. And any of this work, you know, I talked about it is hard, but it's not as hard as the way that some people do it, and as difficult as they make it. If you want to be a perfectionist, you'll probably be taking a heck of a lot longer, doing a lot different, but basically the same thing. Okay, at this point, put up your next two logs. We'll try to make a complete sequence out of this. We've lined up the logs like we talked about before. Now we'll scribe the basic notch. You see it there. See, there's a nice even gap down. And it's centered over the log below. And we've scribed there. So we're going to go ahead and notch down and get our basic notch first. The other end there, we've done the same thing. Scribed it down. That is a real crooked log down there, so our V-notch will be crooked. But that's okay, we found out that it works. After we scribe this basic notch down, we'll be sitting almost on top of the log below. And then we'll block it and scribe full length. Okay, I've sawn down to my scribe lines and roll the log over, lined it back up with the log underneath, and I put 3/4 inch blocks under both notches. They go all the way to the other side. That holds me a 3/4 of an inch up evenly on both ends. Then I'll set my scribe to 2 inches and scribe the full length of the log. And down at this end, here, blocked it, Got some bump in there. That'll be my thickest cutting of my V. And on there. And we've kind of, you can see we're centered over the top of the lower log. And we'll look at an end view. Try to get over the top of the log below. And we're ready to scribe it. One thing I want to mention, you should always, you got tinder dry shavings from this sawing here and everything. The thing a person should do is always be sweeping it down and cleaning up around, because somebody will come around that smokes, or a friend or something, maybe, or somebody observing you, and they'll drop a cigarette butt on the ground. Those people got a habit of doing that. Also, setting your chainsaw down with a hot muffler. Good tinder, they light this tinder off. So always make sure you clean up your mess, or set your saw and put butt kits around or whatever. Watch for fire, because it's very easy to light off this fine shavings that we're making. Another thing, on these lower notches, we can see there's not a lot of the notches showing. Probably by the time you get the log down above, the one below and the one above, you'll be covering up most of the notch. So a lot of your mistakes and errors are going to be disappearing. They'll hide themselves, and then as more weight gets on, they'll kind of close up these gaps too. So that's something to think about. Okay, setting your pencil point at 2 inches. Right at 2 inches. Then take your scribe, like we said before, pull it directly between the logs. So that your pattern log, you're down as far on your pattern log as approximately as you are up here on your upper log. Then just take your scribe and move along in full length. Don't ever change your scribe. Go ahead and make your mark. You can see we made our mark there. Then continue scribing right on up over the top, being sure that you hold this scribe as the prescribed method as we told you. And come on up across. Right on up across. Here I have to jump to the other side of this. I'll just fill it in because I know that's pretty common there. That's a pretty, it continues on over. So just go ahead and make the mark on this side and continue on down. And just take another pencil, fill this in here. Then take your scribe and continue on down the log to the other end. Remembering to keep it down here on your pattern log. Make sure you don't get hung up in a crack and be following it. Kind of go back and forth, keep sweeping until you get a good mark on there, and then go inside and do the same thing. Go complete length of the log, scribe the other side, then we'll be ready to saw it down. Side of your notch, do the same thing. Keep your scribe parallel to the log underneath. Just go along like this. Just kind of watch. See, you don't have to be real perfect. You'll see it. It's following the contour of this log below, in and out. Same thing. Just keep working your way all the way down. Get a nice mark. Kind of keep it straight in and out as much as you can, and up and down. And you have to be real particular. It seems to work real well. And just keep her then right on up and on over. Make sure you can hold it real steady here, get it right. Get your scribe in the right position, up and down, parallel with this log here, in and out. Then come right on up across. There, go inside, do the same thing. Fill in any little marks you missed. Kind of ferre them all in. Then roll it up. After you get the other side scribed, roll it up. And saw down. If your first inclination is like mine, you'll look at that line down there. Say, oh no, I must be doing something wrong. I must be doing something wrong. Don't give in to that impulse. Just do it. See, if you see the swells in the tree where the knots were and stuff, the scribe line goes right around them. What it's doing is getting rid of that inconsistency and making it follow the lower log. So don't let it do it to you. Just go ahead and follow what your scribe line says, and we'll have enough where we can trim her in after a bit. The other end, where that big knot is below, we'll take a look at that. Here we get our V, scribe a V in there so we know where we got to go there. Follow your lines all the way down. You'll see down there it gets real wide right before the notch, and a little less here on this side of it because we had a void in the lower log. Remember, it dropped in down there, and it'll go up high where the knot is there, where that big pretty knot is. So just go ahead and follow these lines, and if you want to come outside the pencil line a little bit, that'll give you a little looser fit. And I don't want to take a heck of a lot of time. They're fitting down real good, so I'm going to go ahead and do it pretty close to right on. Right there. I scribed in with a pencil a little V notch there, so I have a general idea how I want to gouge. And just take the chainsaw, set it up, and run right down lines at that 45 like that. And we'll be alright. And then saw down to the notches. Take your time if you want, and get it a lot closer and a lot better, neater. Okay, what I'm gonna do first here is take the width of the chain and go about that deep. It rips real fast, and follow the line. It's easier to control if I just got a little bit of tip in there. I'll go in about 1 inch. Then I'll go down all the way down the log, following the line real close in that inch. Then I'll bury this deeper. For now, I'll go ahead and cut out this whole V, but as I go down the whole line the full length, I'm going to take this, just this depth of the chain down to get a real easy follow of the line. I'll go ahead and kick out this notch and then go on down the log. dress it up a little bit. That's basically what you're going to be doing all the way down the log. Go ahead, take the chain, run it a little bit, and then work your way in a little bit more. You don't have to work real hard at it. Just take your time. Do it slowly. Cut out the notches. Finish addition of notches while you're there. See, as I went along, it felt like I was following a straight line. You don't even notice it when it feels like it's crooked, or looks like it's going to be crooked. You don't even feel it. You just kind of almost feel like it's a straight line as you're going along with your nose like that. It's not dragging off or anything. So go ahead and do that, and then go full depth. And then roll the dog over the other way, go full depth the other direction, this way. And clean out this side of the notch when you got the dog rolled over this way. This time I just cleaned out this side. When I roll it, So I work this other side, then I'll clean out here. That's it. Do that both sides. Clean up your notches. Roll her down and take a look at it. Okay, I've looked underneath and I'm clear. All the way underneath I'm clear with the V-notch. So I know my notches are hanging me up. Usually that'll happen when you go around a second time like that and have a wider dimension on your scribe. Okay, what I do is mark where it's hitting. It's like that. Figure out how much I got to take out. I know that I got a gap of about a 1/4 inch down there on the V-notch, so I'll probably come into there about a 1/4 inch and kind of ferret into the rest of it. Let's look at the other ones. Same notch. You see it's bumping up right there, so I put a pencil mark there, and right there a little bit, and crawl down underneath. Take a look up under. So you can see there's a big gap in it, so you know you're okay. There. It's just a matter of cleaning up the notches. Okay. Right there is fitting pretty good there. I have to clean up a little bit around that, but not much. Let's go look at the other notches. There, to kind of show that it's pinching right there at the bottom. That's usually where she'll pinch. If it's clear across the top, you're clear all the way around across the top, she'll usually pinch on the. So it seems like I never take enough out of that outside edge. It seems like, and sometimes too much, like down there. See. So sometimes overdo it. Yeah, pay a little more attention than I do and spend a little more time at it, but once the whole cabin's done and they're all melting together, you'll hardly ever see any of these little inconsistencies. One of the bunch, it was pinched out here. Put my little arrow there and line, and a little arrow and line there. So I know how much I have to take out, and then I just roll the log up, dust out right in there, let her sink down. I did have a little interference right there from a big bump that was on the end of that log, but I cleared it off. Okay, now let's clean her up and see what happens. A lot straighter logs than I use. I like using these, and I don't like to waste logs, so you'll probably pick a lot straighter logs. You probably won't have a lot of these complications I got. And I'm showing you this log here because that log down there is straight. You're not going to learn too much off of it. It'll go on down on and probably no problem anywhere. But crooked ones like this is the ones you had problems with, so that's the ones I'm going to show you. Just be a good detective. Be a good detective. Check it out. Check everything out. When fun things hang up, look at another one, and so on and so forth. Okay, there it is in its entirety. A little sloppy feeling nice there. Nice fit in with the burl. Insulation's in, it's wood life, and it's spiked down. Looks pretty darn good. Got a pretty nice tight fit. We'll go inside and look at it in there. Now, one thing you gotta think about, and as far as to my belief that I know, everything I've seen, people that build log homes for you, they're going to do basically the same thing. They don't take any more time or anything. Don't get them fitting any tighter than that. Probably do a heck of a lot less neatly job. This is about as fine as you can get for just as quick as we're doing it and everything. Anybody else tells you otherwise, they're full of baloney. They may spend a couple of days on a notch like that and get a little better, but not much. So think about this. And you use the same methods for a big log home as you do right here. Everything you've done and seen in this little log home is the same thing you do in a big log home. The exception that we'll be spiking and rebarring around doors and windows. We'll probably do a little bit here too, but we aren't up high enough for the windows yet. So don't fool yourself thinking you can get something better than this by having somebody build one for you. You can do it yourself and get the same thing. If you believe me or not, you can see where the sun's sitting, but this one took about half as long as the other one. Just because it was straight, All I had to do is retrim the notches a little bit. Along there I didn't have to trim at all. Just trimmed in the notches. One was a little high and a little tight on the outside of one, but let's go outside and get a better look at this. And you can see the notches are almost perfect. Along there it's real good. I never redid that at all. That's the notch just as I just finished it, and I trimmed it in with a knife, but I hardly did any chainsaw work at all after I did the initial cuts. So that's what you can do. You take a little more time or use straighter logs. I like to use up all the logs I got, plus I like a little unusual stuff too, so it takes me a little longer. But you can see it's a beautiful looking thing. I still have to insulate, wood life insulate, and then spike this one down. Getting too hot to work. Find out which log goes to the front of the cabin, which one goes to the back of the cabin. So get your tape, put it on the crown of the log, the last front log going across, put it on the crown of it, and then lower your head until you're lined up with the log at the far end. Then read your tape here. And we'll see it says 4 inches. About 4 1/4. Then go to each log and do this at all 4 corners. This in here was 4 1/4. That one was 3, I think. That one over there was 5 3/4. And that one was 4 1/2 inches. So we have the most to lap over on the back of the cabin. Most to lap over right there and down there. So what do we want to do? Of the next 2 logs we bring up, we want to put the largest log on the back wall, back there, and the smallest log up here on the front where the smaller readings were at. Now another check you might want to make is just to see how well you're doing and see if your sequence is coming out proper. Take your tape measure, the corner of the cabin, and doing the same thing. Get back, drop your head until you're looking at the far corner, and you'll see you have 22 1/2 inches. Go to all corners and do that. Right now, being we're using a lot of oddball logs and everything, I am probably only out about an inch total from corner to corner. So go around and do that if you want, and double check and see what's happening. But you'll see that the next round we'll bring it back a little more to level. Because as you go up and get into your smaller logs, they'll be straighter. And you won't be having so much taper to them, like these big ones here. And your readings, with using the methods that we learned out of the book, will bring it back to level. And by the time you get to the top of your cabin, it will be level. So then you bring your largest log up, put it on the back wall, put your smallest log on the front wall, with the small end over the big end. That'd be the small end this way on the front wall, and down here it would be the big end this way. So then just go through all your methods that we learned earlier in the film and keep right on up till you get to the roof, which will be above your ceiling joist. That's my grandkids on there you saw a while ago. I'd like to give a summary of this movie up till this point. Time, materials, costs, and let you get an idea of what it costs. I know that you're not going to be building a log home this size. You know, you're going to be building a lot bigger one, probably with a full foundation and a lot more expensive equipment and that sort of thing, because you want a larger home. I don't know what size of home a person builds. All I know is that all the methods we used in this little log structure right here can be used in a large log home of any type. All you have to do is use a little imagination of how to tie your separate walls in, and your different jogs and curves. And probably most people are looking for about a 900 square foot house. A lot of people have unrealistic goals. They say, oh, I want a 40 by 60 log home or something, and they don't realize that that's twice as big as a normal development house. Sit down, go to somebody else's house, check it out, measure out a room, see what size it is, then measure it out. When you look at this in the film, you know, you look at this, it doesn't look very big. It's a lot of room, a lot of living room. So be realistic with your goals. If you get a project too big, you'll never want to finish it. You won't get you'll probably get partway done and then quit or something. Okay. And the time, all the way from setting the blocks, squaring them, putting the ties down, putting the floor covering on, was about 8 hours. I think you've seen that movie when we talked about me and my friend and my son. Pulling up the logs, putting up the rigging, scribing, notching the V-notches, foundation down. It's, took 16 hours probably for all these logs. It takes me about 4 hours to put up 2 of them, scribe them, V-notch them, put them down, insulate them, wood knife them, spike them. So it takes about 4 hours for a set of 2. So there's about a total of 16 hours there. Sawing and set up a half log, that was about 3 hours. So then about 16 hours of various running around. That's going downtown to get spikes or getting something together, doing the bulldozing of the foundation, that sort of thing. So that was 43 hours total to get this far to what you have right here. So you can see it didn't take very long. It took me long in a couple weeks' time to get that 48 hours done. But that's because I got a lot of other things on my mind, doing some other things. So 43 hours total, about a week to get this far. You can pay and have somebody bring in a backhoe to lift the logs on, or maybe have a backhoe or a boom truck. Do a full foundation. You can hire that out for a couple thousand. Right now, we're far enough along on this, you just keep going with these same methods we've been showing you, or I've been showing you, and go ahead on up till you get to the roof, the height you want. And then you just go ahead and put a standard roof system on it if you want, or else you can wait and see what the gable roof system is going to look like. But this is about all we'll be doing now until we get up to the roof. Okay, costs. Let's see, saw gas, 2 gallons, about $3. Spikes, $6. Gas, Jeep gas, $10. Concrete, $125. Floor decking was about $250 because I paid 35 cents a running foot. $250 for the car decking. Insulation, $15. Wood life, 5 gallons, $30. That was a total of $449 just to get this far. Okay, what's going to happen is it's not going to cost me anymore to go on the rest of the way to the roof. I'm going to get up there and then have to buy the car decking just like I bought for the floor here, about another $250, plus the steel and the styrofoam, 1-inch styrofoam insulation will go between the car decking and the steel. So that'll be a total of about $1,000 for this right here. And it'll be a fine looking log home. It took me time, but time and materials involved so far won't be the same for you. You know, it's you're gonna have a lot bigger house, and you're gonna have a lot different foundation layout. You're gonna probably want to spend a lot more time, a little more professionalism on the notches and that sort of thing, maybe. You want a fuller foundation, so figure these costs. A boom truck or whatever, it's still only going to cost you about twice as much as it would have cost me for this. And for a little log home this size, you can see that the major expenses were the floor and the roof and the foundation. So if you figure a little log home this size, this was 16 by 22, and you figure one twice as big, which is about up to almost to a normal house square footage, you'll end up at probably about twice that, a couple $1,000. So until the roof goes on, let's see, it won't cost no more till then. Even now I have less than $1,000 now, I just told you that. You gotta read out my paper here. If you're going to build, the most important and most costly tool, and the not very costly tool, is the movie. A lot of people, I haven't been pushing the movies. I just let people buy when they feel like it. Well, you know, this movie is just like a tool. You know, you can go to the seminar, come to the seminar, get the books, read the books. They're very illustrative, a lot of them. But it isn't the same thing as watching somebody do it. You've got to have a movie that you can keep going back to. You refresh your mind. You know, it's no doubt that what I've told you is in your mind. You're smart enough to pick everything up. But the thing is that you have to be able to go back over it. It's just like going back over notes. A lot of times when you take notes, you don't remember or take exactly the same thing. So my suggestion is buy the movie and workbook. And it's just not from a salesman's point of view. It's the only tool. Originally, when I built my first log home, I used books. That was pretty difficult to do, not to be able to imagine how to do or see how somebody did it. So to me, that's why I make these movies, because I know that a person needs that tool to go ahead. Log Home Concepts is not a log home building company. All I'm doing is making these films to teach people that, hey, I have an easy way to build a log home. I can build a log home with these methods, with a chainsaw, very minimum of tools, very minimum amount of money. I try to provide creative ideas for finances, building alternatives, and lifestyle methods to jump through hoops on your way to independence via a log structure. So I teach consultations. I build a log. I like to teach you how to build a log home on site, at your site, or in the classroom. I'll charge a fee for it. I'll come out on your worst days, teach you, and help you get through the tough parts, that sort of thing. Give you suggestions in the classroom. I'll tell you, you tell me what your finances, I'll tell you how to wrangle them around where you can make things work, get through the tough periods. What easy things you can do that won't cost you money until you get the money to go ahead and do the finishing finer parts. So I'll only be responsible for one thing, proving that I can build a log home using simple methods. It's your decision to decide if you can work safely and are capable of achieving what you set out to do. I can't be responsible for your safety or how well you know how to use a chainsaw or how safe you are or anything else. So I cannot be responsible for that. Only you know if you are capable of using a chainsaw or building a log home. All I can do is provide an idea. Taking action is your responsibility. And so that, I think what we've shown you so far, what I've shown you so far, will get you through till you're up to ceiling joist. I don't know if I'll be cutting in a door later on. I'll be adding it on in the film as I go. But right now, see, I can do it cheap, easy, not much to it. So with that, I'll let this film in. Thank you.